Okay, good morning, Chair, board members, Madam CEO, staff, members of the public. Just want to remind everyone to silence their phones. And when speaking, please make sure that your mic is on and that you are close enough to the mic so that everyone can hear, okay? With that said, Chair, there are no members of the public wishing to provide public comments today. As such, we may proceed with the regular calendar. The first order of business is a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting held on May 28, 2025. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
None opposed? Thank you. Chair, would you like to make any remarks?
Just to welcome everybody here, appreciate everybody showing up on what I think is supposed to be the last day of this week. Something like that. I don't know, I was promised. The CEO will have some more substantive comments. I can tell you that I've said before that the NYCHA team, which very much includes members of the board, have been very focused in the last couple of months on what's happening in Washington, and in particular on the president's budget that came out first in what they call the skinny budget, then what they call, I don't think they call it the fat budget, I don't know, the real budget, something bigger, big, no, that's different.
Big beautiful bill, that's different.
That's different. They call it the more robust budget. Less skinny budget. Anyway, they call it, which dropped a few weeks ago, and among other things, proposes to cut the HUD budget, which is really what's of interest to us, by about $29 billion, which is the largest percentage of cuts that any agency is slated to get, and would have tremendously negative impacts on our residents. So the team has been very, very focused on that. We are working with all of every possible stakeholder here and in other states. Lisa was in Atlanta this week talking to her colleagues and peers at other housing associations. We've talked to organized labor, we've talked to everybody. And I think we're having some impact, and we had the opportunity to go down to Washington on Monday where it was 105 degrees. And meet with folks on the Hill, most of them Republicans, to get their sense of what the prospects for this budget are and make our case for the damage that it would do, not to only to NYCHA, obviously, because when you're talking to a congressman from Arkansas, that's not first on their priority list, but it has the same impact everywhere else and sometimes more because we have other resources. So I think we had a constructive time. We're going to keep on pushing. I think just everybody should stay aware of what's going on in Washington as this reconciliation bill grinds through and then the budget gets onto the calendar. And to the extent that you have the ability to talk to folks who have any influence or just talk to your elected officials, you should absolutely do that. Otherwise, NYCHA keeps working. So.
Thank you, Chair. Madam CEO, would you like to make any comments?
Thank you. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining our June board meeting. I'm sure you've all noticed the high heat for the last couple of days, which can have serious impacts for our residents and on our properties. The heat wave this week has led to low voltage and no power conditions affecting elevator services in the 5 boroughs, with the greatest impacts felt in Brooklyn, Queens, and Staten Island. Our teams have been working around the clock to restore power where needed, offer stair climber assistance to those with mobility needs, and ensure that all life-sustaining equipment has an alternative power source. As of this morning, we are working to restore 174 elevators that are experiencing low voltage conditions. And I wanted to make sure that everyone understands that some of our elevators are out of service because our energy provider lowered their voltage to avoid mass power outages across the city. This is a prudent move, but due to this reduction, some of our elevators are unable to operate. Once the voltage is fully restored, our impacted elevators will be operational again. We're coordinating closely with Con Ed and the New York City Office of Emergency Management, and I really want to thank all of our colleagues in EMSD and operations who have been working tirelessly in the extreme heat to keep our residents safe. Ahead of the high temperatures, NYCHA worked in lockstep with NYSEM and the City of New York to monitor the extreme heat event. Like in the case of all emergencies, weather included, we activated our condition-specific high heat emergency plan on Sunday morning. To make sure residents were informed about how to stay safe and resources for cooling, our development staff shared preparedness flyers directly with residents, and NYCHA's Department of Communications amplified messages from city partners on our various social media channels before and during the extreme heat event, including cooling centers and heat preparedness safety tips. We're actively participating in citywide coordination efforts and are fully prepared to escalate our response should widespread disruptions continue to occur. Building on these operational strengths, Eva Trimble, NYCHA's Chief Operating Officer, will present today on the significant progress we've made in our operations units. We've seen notable improvements in repairs and inspections, including a substantial reduction in missed appointments and strengthened performance from our skilled trades teams. Additionally, I want to share an update regarding our recent visit from the HUD Secretary. This month, Secretary Scott Turner and his team visited NYCHA when they traveled to New York City. During their visit, Secretary Turner toured several of our PACT partner sites and engaged with NYCHA leadership during a meeting and a joint visit to First Houses. This initial meeting provided an important opportunity to showcase the meaningful progress NYCHA has achieved in recent years. Finally, as our chair mentioned regarding our federal funding risks, NYCHA's ongoing priority remains securing sufficient funding to continue to effectively serve our residents. Any uncertainty or reduction in federal support significantly impacts our ability to maintain safe, quality housing and deliver essential services. We remain actively engaged with our partners and policymakers, both here across the country and in DC, to advocate for necessary NYCHA funding. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam CEO. We will now move to our reports portion. This month's report is an operations update by COO Eva Trimble.
Good morning, board members.
Morning. How are you?
Good, how are you all?
Good, thank you.
Okay, as Lisa mentioned, I wanted to take the opportunity today to share some updates on the property management operations and kind of do a check-in on how we're doing on some of our performance. So first, we've made tremendous impacts in the areas of the HUD agreement, the 6 pillars. And every single pillar has seen improvement year over year. We've done this primarily by shifting our practices, focusing on performance management, using data to drive our operations. So there's, while each pillar is very unique and different and has had different challenges, I think across the board, using these practices have really helped us streamline our operations and think through how we do things, always with the focus of resident improvement and resident communication. So as our heat outages, our elevator outages outside of this past weekend have been primarily down. Our lead program has scaled up to, I think this is a little bit out of date now, we're well over 12,000 units abated, and our pest complaints are down significantly. We're meeting the HUD requirement of 2 days to respond to rat complaints, which is something that I don't think anyone ever thought we'd be able to achieve. So the pillar agreement areas is actually something that, because of the HUD agreement and that focus on, has seen tremendous improvement. One of the areas we don't talk a lot about is the day-to-day repair and operation side. So that's what we wanted to focus more on today. Next slide. So I wanted to start by just giving you an overview of our operational structure to place this all in context. So within the transformation plan, the primary grounding was that we were gonna restructure NYCHA to these neighborhoods in order to provide more oversight on a day-to-day basis on the ground. So NYCHA is organized into 4 boroughs, Queens and Staten Island are lumped together into a happy family. 29 neighborhoods, each with about 3 to 5 consolidations and about 5,000 units. Each neighborhood is overseen by a neighborhood administrator, and over the course of the transformation plan in the last few years, we've added significant resources into the neighborhood administrator function, including the planning teams that schedule and sequence skill trades, and now neighborhood contract managers, which are responsible for overseeing contracts within, particularly micro purchases within the neighborhood. And so this new function now is really helping us coordinate all activities on the ground at the properties. Next slide. So turning to maintenance workers, this slide shows our service levels for maintenance. That's how long it takes us to do maintenance. To give you context, we get about 108,000 work orders created every month for maintenance. Maintenance is the first line of defense, so when you call the CCC and you put in a ticket, a complaint, we send a maintenance worker out to review it. If they can fix it, they fix it. If they can't, they'll sequence it. However, we're really proud that 76% of those tickets are closed with work done. So we're not sequencing to trades more than we need to. This was a major goal of our work order reform initiative, to make sure that we were closing tickets on that first visit. Our citywide service level is down to 3.3 days when you take out the move-outs. Move-outs are also part of the maintenance worker workload, but as you know in other conversations, we have a large backlog of move-outs. So just focusing on occupied resident complaints, our maintenance workers are getting to those complaints in an average of 3.3 days, with 76% of that work being done. We're also better documenting all of the instances of work where work can't be done and it's a tenant on home, by making sure that all work orders are closed with an actual photo of our notice on the door saying we were here, we weren't able to finish today. So we don't consider maintenance as having a real backlog, because we're pretty much keeping up with the demand on the maintenance side. Switching over to our apartment inspections, as you know, this year is the first year, 2024 was the first year that we had to do 100% apartment inspections as part of our coming into compliance with the HUD rules. The apartment inspection program reached that goal, and we are far ahead of that goal for 2025. The great thing about this is that it really is a key to making NYCHA better. Getting into every unit and seeing what those conditions are, understanding those needs, is gonna help trickle through so many other parts of our operation, and we'll show that in a minute too.
How long does an inspection take in an apartment?
I'm not sure, Angela, do you know?
About an hour. In a unit.
Yeah, and the inspection, usually a maintenance worker is coming with the inspector in order to do minor repairs on the spot. That's a requirement of the HUD agreement.
It's great that we do it, and 100%. Do we do it in PACT units as well? Converted PACT units?
So we don't have any inspection authority over PACT units. They have their annual HQS, now Inspire inspections in PACT units, but those aren't performed by operations.
Okay, so we're currently doing 150,000 or something like that.
Next slide. This is on top of the Inspire inspections that are also performed by HUD staff. So our residents have multiple people coming into their apartment every year. The Inspire inspections, as we shifted from what was formerly FOS to Inspire over the past year, we've seen a tremendous change in our scores for this program. Over 30-point increase from 2022, 2023 to 2024, including significant more in the higher level. So, you know, seven properties at 90 or above as opposed to 2 previously, 25 at 80 or above as opposed to 0, and only 3 units failing below 30 when previously it was 64. So this is, I think, reflection of the work that we're doing across the program. The 2022-2023 numbers are also, I think, artificially low because that's coming out of COVID. And during COVID, we did have a hold on all non-emergency apartment work So we were not going into units. And in fact, in the 1 year from 2020 to 2021, that 1 year of COVID, our work order backlog increased 32%, just because we were not coming into units for the safety of residents and our staff. So that's the backlog that we're really trying to get through now, and it's reflected in those Inspire scores.
Is HUD also inspecting every apartment every year?
No,
Or a
as
lower
part of the
percentage?
Inspire, they're doing a sampling of
Yeah.
apartments.
Thanks.
Next slide. What the apartment inspections and Inspire has really given us an opportunity to do is to really implement something that's kind of like a see something, say something approach. It's called Maintenance Cares, and I have to give a lot of credit to EVP Dan Green and Claire Cavini, who's the strategic advisor for operations, for single-handedly running this program and implementing it. They are going through over 500 cases right now. Maintenance Cares was an initiative that was started just this spring in order to ask maintenance workers to report conditions that they're seeing. And what we're finding is that these are conditions that have really gone unsung. So these are residents that aren't the squeaky wheels, that aren't calling us constantly. They're not putting in work tickets for a variety of reasons. Or frankly, there are some cases that have just fallen through the cracks over the years. And now we're finally getting a handle on them. So we've asked maintenance workers to report this list of conditions that they're seeing: open walls, missing tub enclosures, temporary sinks, things like that. And they send that into a maintenance cares account that Claire personally oversees every single email, and we start to schedule and prioritize those requests. So we have some sample pictures here. Next slide. And again, it's driven by the fact that we really do care to improve the conditions for every resident. Every resident deserves this kind of response and this type of escalation, not just because you called the news or an elected official. This is our way of showing that we can make it happen on our own by using our staff feel now more empowered to speak up when they see conditions. They're not as afraid of any type of retaliation or retribution from bringing these conditions up. Really, the goal is not to have a blame on what went wrong, but to focus on how do we fix it now. And I think the staff have been really excited by this. The caretakers and teams that submit the most maintenance cares requests, Dan has been bringing them t-shirts that say we care, and kind of coming out to the office and thanking them for that effort. Next slide. So as I said, overall, we've gone through 500 cases right now that we have. We have 395 open, and we've closed 122.
Where is this?
All over the city.
395 cases of.
Of maintenance cares requests. So
Oh, I'm
there's like,
sorry.
yeah,
Okay.
we call them cases, but basically submissions from maintenance workers of conditions that really need. And this, this picture here of the bathroom and the mold is really incredible. Next slide. A lot of these conditions require skilled trade work, and so that brings us to look at our skilled trade data over the last few years. So similar to maintenance workers, we have a tremendous volume of skilled trade tickets that are opened every year. And we have, a handful of specific trades that are really masters in their craft. Plumbers, plasterer, electrician, carpenter, these are our key trades. So every month, on average, we get about 42,000 new skilled trade work orders. Overall, the largest volume of that is paint, which I'll talk about in a minute. Our citywide service level, very long, we understand that, it's 462 days, but that is driven by some significant backlog that is aging. Overall, if you see based on what we're closing and canceling every month, we are staying on top of annual demand, which was the goal of our work order program, was to be able to handle what's coming in. We're gonna have, we have some other initiatives to think through the backlog, but we are handling, and the workers are doing what they're supposed to do on a day-to-day basis. Similar to maintenance, we're closing 74% of work orders with work done.
So again, the numbers are almost exact, so you're basically flat, net flat.
Yeah. The goal is not to have the backlog grow any longer while we think of strategies to reduce it.
Yeah. What's the backlog, what's the number of the backlog?
It's approximately 322,000 of these for these trades.
But and again, a lot of them, if you and so the average all in, including the backlog, is 462 days.
Yes.
Yeah. We all know that a lot of those are no longer valued.
Yes,
If you
and
went
so
through it
one
and
of the
actually
things
cleaned
I'll show in a little bit is that we are working on doing some verification of old work orders, so specifically on about 30% of the backlog is due to paint. And that's partially because a lot of those We also open a lot of tickets as part of the paint program and the requirements under the HUD agreement. We have to do visual inspections, risk assessments. So we are opening a lot of work orders for paint. Those do take longer to close, and so about 30% of our backlog is paint. And we are doing some older verifications and some efforts to kind of close some of those older ones more administratively.
Got it, so one paint job in one apartment could be multiple work orders.
Yes.
Okay, so, got it, and those also take longer, and it's 30% of the total.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's really a painting problem.
Yeah.
Which is really a lead problem.
Right, which is really a nicer problem.
But in looking at our skilled trade productivity, the trades are doing what they're supposed to be doing in the whole.
So this only, but maybe, I don't wanna, I'm treading on your
That's
jumping
okay.
the gun a little bit, but I'm the guy that reads the last page of the mystery also. So I think this goes to the same point, just in presentationally, that we have in other places too, which is, this is not an accurate picture of what's happening, really. I mean, it's an accurate picture from a very high level.
Yeah.
But this doesn't really tell you all that much. What you should be able to say is, what we should, you want people to hear what I'm saying?
It only makes sense if you break, as you say, break it out into the type and then the skill trade, and then understand how many individual orders go into one thing, and by the time you're done, what you're gonna see, as you said, is that there's one particular kind of thing that is a big problem, but also there's a reason for it, it's all interconnected. And there's probably lots of areas where it's a different and perhaps better picture.
I appreciate that rosier perspective.
Today is a rosier day.
Yeah.
Just why does paint take so long?
So we have a significant backlog on paint, the way our paint program is set up, that we have to have vendors do full apartment, because it takes so long, it's not the best use of our individual painters, so our painters do smaller size, one wall, one room, spot painting, but the vendors do the full apartment, but because of all of our protocols, we do have a backlog. I also think, like I said, there's a lot of verification that needs to be done on some of the older work. We opened up a lot of paint work orders that we have to go back and verify whether they're still needed. Next slide. One of the new metrics that we've been looking at this year as part of our increase in performance management and working with the monitor team specifically on this one is about missed appointments. And the monitor team has actually been really helpful to us in this area, in that they helped us build a dashboard to track how many appointments are we missing. So this isn't the tenant not at home piece that I mentioned, where we put our note on the door, we take a picture, we close the work order, but this is how many times are we missing the appointment, failing to show up. And in 2025, on average, it's about 6% of work orders have a missed appointment. We had 96,000 scheduled appointments in 2025 so far, and 4,800 of those have been missed appointments. So if you go to the next slide, what our operations team has been doing on a, I think, weekly basis is looking at these numbers and really drilling down to why we're missing appointments, how we're communicating about that, and how we can improve. So the average was 6, but if you see in June, we were down to 4%, and our goal is to keep this under 5% going forward. And we're using this information on a regular basis to really, improve our communication and improve performance with the teams. This right now is focused on skilled trades, but we're doing a pilot right now with maintenance workers in Ravenswood to do something similar for maintenance workers. Maintenance workers is a smaller scale since you're really at the property and it's that property maintenance worker that's going, while skilled trades work at the neighborhood level as well as the development level. So we started with skilled trades, but now we're gonna look at how we do that. Maintenance workers are also getting to appointments in 3 days, so it's less of an issue. If we miss someone and a resident comes back and says, hey, I'm home, we can just send you over there. But we're testing it out because we do want to have a similar dashboard, just so we can have the data and the metrics to review. So then to your point, I'm just gonna go through fairly quickly a couple of specific trades, just so you see, also give you an example of the type of data we're looking at on a regular basis. So for plumbers, you can see the yellow line is our open work orders, and while that's gone down from about 18,000 to 15,000, you can see that impact at the bottom as far as the service level, how reducing the work orders really changes our service level. a lot of the plumbing impacts have been to about retraining staff on handhelds as well as verification of old tickets. So like I said, our work in getting through that backlog, making sure that the plumbers are using their handhelds, know how to close the ticket, making sure that things are documented, makes a big impact.
So just looking at the bottom, I'm sorry, looking at
Looking on the bottom graph. So that started April 24. And that's a year basically.
Yeah.
And it was, the SLA was,
Like about 230 days.
and now it's
It's about 190.
231. Got it. And that coincided with a drop.
With a drop in open tickets from about 18,000 to 15,000.
Oh, that's interesting. I mean, that, which is good, 190 days for an open plumbing work order. Is that a plumbing work order like, that's not like a clogged toilet? That's.
No, so that would be an emergency level, but this would be, it's not, so it's like leaks from above, stoppages, those are all emergencies we handle right away. This could be, I'm blanking on other types of plumbing, but, other wet wall repairs, stack job,
So yeah,
like bigger stack jobs.
I got it.
Similar for plaster, you can see we've taken down the open work tickets, we've taken down the backlog, and that's had a significant decrease in our service level agreements. For plaster, this is also something where we've seen an improvement on thanks to our plastering academy that we started 2 years ago now, where, right, we can't really find plasterers on the private market anymore because it's not really a common trade. But we've started training our own plasterers to improve them passing the plaster test and facilitating the plaster test. So we've been doing about 20 plasterers a year, maybe 18 plasterers a year through our plastering academy, and that's helped keep our plastering ranks strong so that we can bring down the service level there too.
They go in as new employees or they're doing
No,
something else?
so we have, all the trades usually have a helper. So for plasterers, the plaster helper is called a caretaker P. And they have to work for 3 years as a caretaker P before they can take the plastering exam. So they basically kind of are an apprentice. It's kind of like an apprenticeship type program, it's just not called that. And so after 3 years, they can take the plaster exam. However, the plaster exam is fairly tough and it's hard to pass. And so the plastering academy, it takes people that have passed that 3-year mark but is having trouble passing the exam and trains them, gives them kind of real classroom type training in our plastering academy, as well as extra support on the job to get them through. It's a 6-month program, they retake the test and they've been passing. Okay, painter work orders. As we said, the painter work order backlog is flat for the most part, because this is an area that we really have to focus on that verification and lead abatement in order to see progress there. The last one I want to flag, because it goes back to something you talked about before, is electricians. So this is an area where we're seeing an increase in the backlog and an increase in our SLAs. The electrician work orders have grown about 11% because of Inspire requirements to have GFCI, ground fault circulator, can I remember the I? Ground fault circulator? I can't. Anyway.
This is the new regulation.
Yeah. Well, grounded sockets, no more than not near a water source. So that's increased our work order for electricians significantly as we go through the apartment inspections and Inspire inspections and find that. This is also something that the maintenance workers can fix an outlet if it's already grounded, but they can't ground an outlet that's not yet grounded. So it needs to go to an electrician to do, and that has increased. So now we see as kind of a one-time bump. As we get through all of that work, it will come down again, but it's something that we're continuing to work through.
So we're positive that's really what this is.
Yes,
Yeah.
that specific work order has driven everything.
And I realize this is a very, very obvious and I'm sure loaded question, but you can't train a maintenance worker to ground an outlet? I bet you could.
That is a loaded question
Okay,
regarding
I
skill
understand.
trade.
got it.
I'm happy to answer any other questions.
YouTube and figure out how to do anything.
Hi,
Make a nuclear bomb.
so in kind of touching base with what the chair was talking about, I wanna go over some of the things that you mentioned. In the Inspire 2025 inspections, apartment inspections. So that we also have the issue with mold. So I just need to know if they go in and find mold while they're doing the inspection, is that addressed immediately or is it addressed within 24 to 72 hours?
So, if they find mold, then we will initiate our mold inspection protocol, which then we have to inspect and then issue a mold report. So the Inspire is the HUD inspector.
Right.
And so we won't even necessarily know about all their findings right away. But if we're doing an annual inspection and we see that, that would trigger an actual mold inspection to be started.
Okay, now, going back to the see something, say something. Someone's doing a repair, one of our people are doing a repair, let's say on an elevator. And it's a building that has multiple elevators. If they see that the other elevator is also having a problem, can that person, that repair person, at that point in time, address that? Or do they have to go back, wait till the ticket is generated and then address it?
No, they can address it, right away, they themselves will probably put in the ticket, as well as having a complaint ticket.
But they'll address it right then and there?
Yes.
And all they have to do is call their
They don't have to wait for a
supervisor?
ticket, yeah.
Okay. And we still have the fact where elected officials do not call the management office directly, they call intergovernmental. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. That does it for me, thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Thanks, Eva.
Thank you, Eva. We may now proceed with our regular calendar, starting with item number 1, Tony Maldonado.
Thank you. Good morning. Good morning, board members and colleagues. My name is Tony Maldonado, Vice President of Purchasing, Logistics, and Inventory, and I will be presenting item number 1 on behalf of the Supply Management and Procurement Department for your consideration. Item number 1 seeks authorization to ratify the entering into an agreement with Wesco Distribution Incorporated, referenced to as Wesco, in the amount of $11,125,676.85 for the purchase and delivery of various maintenance, repair, and operation supplies, such as wires, lamps, batteries, wall plates, and receptacle duplexes, which is a fancy term for outlets. Utilizing the terms and conditions of Omnia Partners, referenced to as Omnia, participating agreement number R240809 between Wesco and Region 4 Education Service Center from Houston, Texas. Omnia is a purchasing cooperative connecting thousands of public agencies and education institutions with suppliers to create purchasing power. This is a 2-year, 6-month, and 11-day term requirement contract with 2 one-year renewal options. A condensed responsibility check for Wesco was approved by the Procurement, Ethics, and Vendor Responsibility Department on February 28, 2025, citing no issues to preclude award and that the vendor is deemed responsible for a contract award with NYCHA. Given that this contract is for goods only, a Section 3 hiring plan is not required. Are there any questions?
I don't think I've ever seen one of these Omnia, maybe I have, but this Omnia, a contract entered into under, or, vendor selected through this Omnia participating agreement. When do we decide to use that and when not?
Oh, we have for a couple of years. There's some stuff that comes to before the board. It gives us it's a cooperative agreement, which basically is pre-solicited already. It's gone through all the stuff. So we have several kind of, we have Granger, we have other kind of vendors that we use through the Omnia, and it gives us the time not having to go through the full procurement stuff, and we also get best pricing. So
No, it seems great. I mean,
through the Omnia, I'm sorry, sir.
Right.
Through the Omnia, we always tell our vendor partners that Omnia is the ceiling price,
Right.
but we always try to negotiate under, right? So they can't charge us more than Omnia, and if we, from time to time, what my department will do is we'll look at a series of HAs on a contract, and we'll do market research to make sure that we're still getting the best price.
But does Omnia have a full suite of services that
Oh, yeah, well, materials and
So
services.
why don't we do it more often?
We do a lot of work on it, yeah, we do a lot.
And it saves us time with procurement.
Oh, lots of time, yes, sir.
Like how long did this take versus what?
A piggyback could take maybe a couple of months tops, but then, again, doing the condensed responsibility check, whatever, a full procurement like this could take anywhere from 8, 9, 10, 11 months. If we did a full procurement on our own. Through Omni, a piggyback could take weeks.
Yeah, seems like that should be first choice.
It's always our first choice. If there's something existing that we could piggyback off, not only just Omni, just another city agency, we piggyback first.
Thank you. Thank you, Tony. Jacqueline?
Good morning, board members. My name is Jacqueline Sullivan. I'm the Senior Vice President for Healthy Homes, and I'm presenting item 2 today. Item 2 is requesting authorization to approve contract capacity increase for a citywide contract to Linear Environmental for lead-based paint abatement in occupied and unoccupied apartments. This contract has a not to exceed amount of $15 million, and the total projected labor hours are 25,000 with 6,250 Section 3 labor hours. Please let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Jacqueline. Angela?
Good morning, everyone. I'm Angela Gadsden, Vice President for Bronx Management Department. I will be presenting item number 3. Item number 3 is authorization is requested to approve a contract capacity increase to this IDIQ contract awarded to SLSCO for general construction for an initial 3-year term with 2 one-year renewal options to increase the not to exceed amount of $10,054,458.51 in order to fund the continued provisions of services during the remainder of the initial 3-year term continuing through January 19, 2026. The total projected labor hours is 46,405. Of that number, the Section 3 is 11,601 and 25 cents.
125, not cents, 125. It's hours.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you, Angela. Roy?
Good morning. My name is Roy Frias. Is it on? Oh, sorry. Good morning. My name is Roy Frias. I'm the contract administrator for the Heating Management Services Department. Today I'm presenting item number 4. Item number 4 is a request to approve a contract capacity increase to an IDIQ contract awarded to RJ Bruno Inc. for heating plumbing services in the not to exceed amount of $25,500,000. The contract capacity increase is required to address critical repairs for the authority's heating systems and ensure continuation of essential services. The scope of work includes, but is not limited to, furnishing all labor, materials, and incidentals required to repair, replace defective plumbing parts associated with boilers, hot water systems, heat exchangers, and heating equipment in NYCHA boiler rooms and tank rooms. The systems covered in this IDIQ contract provide heating and hot water, which directly impacts the quality of life for the authority's residents. The vendor's high reliability has helped the heating department make major steam repairs, respond promptly to emergencies, and continue to address our needs of our aging equipment and infrastructure. The Section 3 hiring plan was approved, and the total projected labor hours are 10,000, 2,500 of which are Section 3. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Roy.
Thank you.
Emma?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Emma Boundy. I'm the Senior Advisor to our EVP of Administration, and I am presenting items number 5, 6, and 7 today. Items number 5 and 7 are requesting authorization to approve a contract capacity increase for general, professional, and technical information technology staff augmentation services. Item number 6 is requesting authorization to ratify a contract capacity increase for general, professional, and technical information technology staff augmentation services. All 3 of these vendors provide as-needed recruitment of temporary employees who are used when a specific skill set is required and existing authority staff cannot perform the work. Each vendor provides the authority with a pool of qualified group candidates to fill resources across multiple labor categories and to work on numerous projects and initiatives across the authority. Item number 5 is being awarded to Cogent Infotech Corporation. The increase to the not to exceed amount is $10 million. The total estimated labor hours are 155,520, and of that number, the Section 3 total projected labor hours are 38,880. Item number 6 is being awarded to Trigen Technologies Incorporated. The increase to the not to exceed amount is $50 million. The total estimated labor hours are 120,000, and of that number, the Section 3 total projected labor hours are 54,346. And finally, item number 7 is being awarded to Infogenie Inc. The increase to the not to exceed amount is $12.5 million. The total estimated labor hours are 100,000, and of that number, the Section 3 total projected labor hours are 25,000. Any questions?
Any questions? Thank you, Emma. Thank you. Michael?
Good morning, board members. My name is Mike Klandorf. I'm with Asset and Capital Management. I'm the Director of Project Management. I'll be presenting items 8 through 13. Item 8, we seek authorization to award a contract to the lowest responsible and responsive bidder, Bagiana General Construction, for roofing replacement and rooftop structure renovation at Throgs Neck Edition in the amount of $8,393,859.48. The contract provides for roofing replacement and rooftop structure renovation at all 4 buildings. The scope of work includes, but is not limited to, removal and replacement of the existing roofing system and related work, including asbestos and lead abatement. The contract duration is 1 year and 5 months and 22 days. The projected Section 3 labor hours are 4,000, which represents 25% of the total. Are there any questions on item 8? Item number 9, we seek authorization to award one IDIQ job contract for roof work at various developments citywide to WDF Inc. in the not to exceed amount of $10 million. ANCM bid 5 IDIQ job, 4 resulted in rejections. One is to be awarded to WDF Inc., the lowest responsive and responsible bidder with a bid factor of 1.38. The authority's estimated bid factor is 1.40. The term for the IDIQ job is 3 years with 2 one-year renewal options to be exercised at the authority's sole discretion. The projected Section 3 labor hours are 9,600, which represents 25% of the overall. Are there any questions with item 9? Items 10 through 12. We seek authorization to award 3 IDIQ job contracts for mechanical services for various developments citywide in the not to exceed amount of $30 million collectively. 2 are to be awarded to AWL Industries, Inc., the lowest responsive and responsible bidder with a bid factor of 1.26. 1 contract is to be awarded to WDF, the second lowest responsive and responsible bidder with a bid factor of 1.27. The authority's estimated bid factor is 1.40. The scope of work includes, but is not limited to, heating, ventilation, and air conditioning repairs and replacements, plumbing, piping, and ductwork installation, and electrical work for all mechanical systems on an as-needed basis. The term for the IDIQ jobs is 3 years with 2 one-year renewal options to be exercised at the authority's sole discretion. The projected Section 3 labor hours are 17,211 for AWL and 7,000 for WDF. Are there any questions on items 10 through 12? Item number 13, we seek authorization to reject all bids for an IDIQ contract for the replacement of fire alarm systems at various developments citywide. The first lowest bidder, Gemco Electrical Contractors, was deemed non-responsive for failure to submit the required bid bonds as outlined in the authority's bid documents. The second lowest bidder, Gilston Electrical Contracting, was deemed non-responsive for failure to submit the fire suppression contractor license and the New York State Department of Labor registration certificates per the required minimum qualifications as outlined in the authority's bid documents. Therefore, Asset Capital Management is requesting authorization to reject all bids. This IDIQ contract will be rebid to ensure compliance with all contractual and regulatory requirements and the required minimum qualifications as outlined by the authority's bid documents.
How many, this is IDIQ, but how comprehensive would this contract have been?
How comprehensive?
Yeah, how much work would there have been?
It would be up to a not to exceed amount of about $10 million.
For how many years?
It would be 3
years.
3 years with 2 1-year renewal options. We try to do 3 with 2 1-year renewals.
Were the two submitters parties that had worked with us before?
Yes, they're both decent vendors, both recommendable, but they failed to meet the authorities.
I mean, these ding-dongs couldn't figure out how to select, how to do what just sounded like two extremely simple and clear things.
It'll have to be a question for Sergio. Yeah.
I mean, they couldn't,
Yeah.
so that's the answer, yeah. And they don't, when they can't, submit their, things in a state, whatever, thank you, my counsel. Do they have a moment to cure that, or that's just like, that's it, you can't do it? Because that's sort of an IQ test.
Since you threw me under the bus, so.
Yeah.
So we're looking now at curability, because obviously that's an issue that the authority has. We're working with law, NCM, and operations on what's the most effective way of looking at these requirements. When we set these requirements up in the bid documents, there's language such as at the time of bid and shall, and things that have as a legal nature restricts our ability from a program standpoint. So as much as I think over the course of 5 years, and when we talk about the use of cooperatives and other ways of being dynamic in our sourcing, we've done everything we possibly can, and we'll continue to look at ways of curing that. But everything starts at the point of when we receive bid documents from the program areas, that puts us into a box. But we are now working with the new CAO and law and program areas to really try to rectify where the pendulum might have swung over the course of the last 10 years to come back to a level set where, for example, where we have had business with the vendors prior that we pre-qualify. Pre-qualification, as you've seen, we've done a lot in the way of starting with the skilled trades and pre-qualifying. And as we go to a move of pre-qualifying all vendors in advance of bid, licensing and bid bonds and those elements that have caused challenges for us from a procurement standpoint can be mitigated on the front end as opposed to at the point when a submission is closed.
I mean, without getting into more, we're already way beyond the level of detail you expected to get into when you got up this morning, but I mean, I would have thought that if it's a vendor who's already worked with us, presumably last time they provided a bid bond, last time they provided the license, so they should, there must be some way to say to them, look, just tell us that this is still valid, or this is still
Up to date.
Yeah, up to date or whatever, nothing has changed, and the bid bond, you just have to renew your bid bond with your bond or your bonding agent or whatever it is, rather than have to, it doesn't seem like a particular hardship if it's a $10 million job.
The bid bond's a little bit more challenging because that is a specific requirement under the CFR. But when it comes to elements of responsibility, we always work with counsel, we work with program to try to mitigate knocking somebody out of the procurement as much as possible, I can tell you that.
Well, anyway, as you go forward, I would imagine that somebody ought to have a conversation with both of these ding dongs and say, did you have it in your back pocket and you forgot to hand it to us? Or was there some much more comprehensive issue, in which case, you weren't gonna get there?
They should exercise their rights to a post-meeting with us
Okay,
to discuss that. Sometimes they just get mad and lawyer out.
Okay, thanks.
Are there actually
Isabel.
fire alarm system contracts in play right now? Do we have other vendors providing the service right now?
And anytime that we have a gap, we look to SCA and, like, under the piggyback rules, we look for those opportunities to meet those gaps while we're soliciting or doing what we need to do.
Can I go back to 12 for 1 second? So here, is it fair to assume that the second lowest bidder was AWL? It just says that second lowest bidder was deemed ineligible to receive the award because the bid documents say we can have no more than 2 IDIQ jocks of this service to any one vendor. So we gave 2 of them to AWL, is that what happened? And so
That's exactly right.
AWL was knocked out of the
We
third
wanted to
bid.
spread the risk. AWL wasn't knocked out, but the authority decided to award the third contract to a second vendor to have 2 vendors on task and not have one vendor with all 3 contracts.
Got it.
And that was
Is the
intended in the contract language.
Is the result of that we end up paying more for the service because we're now down to the third or fourth lowest bidder, and is WDF as qualified as AWL? WDF does our roof work, so they must be qualified, but
They're both qualified. It's a very good question. And the factor is, one is gonna be a 0.26 factor, which is a cost, and the second one is 1.27. So it's not even a 1% difference.
got it. Okay.
Yeah.
I was able to do that without using the word ding dong, I want the record.
Just one thing, bid factor had nothing to do with it.
No, it was part of our contract. We were hoping to get 3 vendors and 3 contracts. But one vendor came in very aggressive, and we didn't want to award all 3 to that one vendor. So we exercised our rights in the contract to say, we're gonna give the third contract to another vendor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
Good morning, I'm Arlene Ornstein, Director for Risk Management. Item 14 requests the board's approval to award the authority's liability insurance program policies to 14 insurers noted in the resolution. The total annual program premium will be $7,228,146. The program becomes effective August 1st of this year, continues through July 31st of 2026. The recommended program has a new lead insurer, Obsidian Specialty Insurance Company. The Obsidian-led program is recommended on the strength of numerous insurance coverage improvements outlined in the management memo. These enhancements broaden the scope and the value of the authority's liability coverage. Otherwise, the program will continue to maintain total insurance limits of $100 million per occurrence and in the aggregate for general, automobile, and employee benefits liabilities. Like the expiring program, this program is subject to self-insured retentions of $5 million per occurrence and the authority's quota share claim participation of 50% in the first 20 million of insurance coverage. The program is paid through the operating self-insurance fund. Are there any questions?
Just a comment, we beat the goal of 10% with a 5% increase and we got better coverage.
Yes. Okay.
Agree?
Yep.
Just one last one.
Don't let me go.
One last question. Does it always take that many companies to get to our objective? Or can we save?
Yes.
Oh, it does take.
Yes.
Okay.
The companies do not want to write a high limit on the type of insured profile that we are, habitational risk, aggregated locations in New York City. So it does take that many to build an insurance program.
Thank you.
Thank you, Arlene. Ryan?
Morning, my name is Brian Honan, Executive Vice President of Governmental Relations. Morning, Chair Rubin, CEO, both Ohio board members and colleagues. It is my honor today to present the board with a resolution proposing to rename the James Wilden Johnson Community Center after longtime tenant leader Ethel Velez. I first met Ethel Velez before I was here at NYCHA, and yes, there was a time before I was here at NYCHA. And I was a young tenant advocate, and she was an advocate of legendary status. Ethel was raised at Johnson Houses. She moved there when she was 6 months old. She grew up in the community of East Harlem. Eventually, she became the Tenant Association president there 40 years ago. She rose up to become the DCOP chair and really became a citywide force in tenant organizing, especially public housing tenant organizing. To Ethel, her community was Johnson Houses, East Harlem, and then NYCHA as a whole. She was very involved here in NYCHA Central, very involved with policy at NYCHA. To go to one of tenants, Ethel's meetings at Johnson Houses, you had to make sure that you were prepared to talk about whatever was happening that night because she did not suffer fools lightly. She would grill you, she would make you wonder if you were really qualified for the position you were in. And then when the meeting was over, she'd make sure you were fed and gave you a hug and asked you to come back next time. It was my pleasure to know Ethel. It was my pleasure to work with Ethel. NYCHA is better because of Ethel. And the community center is a fitting honor to her. We went through the process of renaming the center. The committee voted 4-0 to rename the center. The committee, which was made up of Eva Trimble, the general counsel, Luca Busquet, and Georgie at finance as well. Excuse me, thank you. We have letters of support from her daughter, Janet, and we also have letters of support from Mr. Green, who is the current DCOP chair, Danny Barber, who is the CCOP chair, and the board of the and the board of the Johnson Tenant Association. Assemblymember Gibbs and Councilmember Ayala also expressed support for the name change. And before I close, I would just like to read a letter that Danny Barber, who is the CCOP chair, asked me to read. Board members, he says, I write to you all today to say thank you for the opportunity for the center to carry the name of an icon and a legend of the Johnson Houses. The community and throughout NYCHA as a whole, I initiated this conversation way back in 2002 when I first came on, and she was set up in the back of the auditorium at a local high school and started asking me questions, and I answered them. She told me she was going to show me the ropes, and she played a strong part in me being here as the chair today. So I thank you all, to all those who worked to make this renaming possible, and it goes to show that she was and still is appreciated and will never be forgotten. Sincerely, Danny Barber. Any questions?
I don't have a question, just a comment, because as you stated, Ms. Velez was well known in the community. It's not an overstatement to consider her an icon, because she was. You had mentioned she grew up in the neighborhood, and that's accurate. She knew my wife very well. I think it's very fitting that that community center, which my children actually went to, it was called something else at the time. I think it's very fitting that that community center be renamed in her honor. Thank you.
I had the honor and privilege of working with Ethel for many, many years. Even when I started over at Wise Towers as a TA president, she helped with the, shall we say, indoctrinating me into how to deal with that particular position. And through the years, we became friends, and we went through a lot of, shall we say, craziness together, and she stood strong. She's someone that many resident leaders can look up to and say, yeah, she's got it. And I'm very happy that this is happening, and hope and pray that when it does happen, many of us will be privileged to be there.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Ben?
Good morning, board members, Chair Rubin, Madam CEO, and all. My name is Ben Brando. I'm our new Senior Director of Internal Audit and Assessment as of April. It's my privilege to present item number 16 to you all this morning. This resolution item is seeking the board's authorization to approve the issuance of the authority's fiscal years 2025 to 2027 internal audit plan. This 3-year internal audit plan was developed by our Internal Audit and Assessment Department in coordination with our contracted internal audit vendor, RSM US LLP, who we engaged in October 2024. The authority's fiscal years 2025 to 2027 internal audit plan is a result of an extensive 4-month risk assessment from January through April 2025, which included several dozen leadership interviews, surveys of over 100 senior personnel across many departments, a review of internal policies and financial records, consideration of inherent risks, and external research. The authority's fiscal years 2025 to 2027 internal audit plan will review critical systems and management controls. The plan includes the performance of effective and efficient audits, as well as engaging in continuous monitoring activities to provide executive management with recommendations that will improve key internal controls of the authority and add value to the authority's business operations. The fiscal years 2025 to 2027 internal audit plan was presented to our Audit and Finance Committee earlier this month on Thursday, June 12th, for their recommendation to the board to approve this plan, at which time the Audit and Finance Committee recommended the board's approval. Accordingly, the Internal Audit and Assessment Department is now seeking such approval, but please let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Camille?
Good morning. My name is Camille McLean, and I'm a project manager on the transactions team in the real estate development department. I will now present item number 17. We are seeking board approval to the PACT conversion of 5 developments: Ocean Hill Apartments, Saratoga Village, Stuyvesant Gardens 1 and 2, and Bedford Stuyvesant Rehabs, collectively Ocean Hill Stuyvesant Gardens. The developments consist of a total of 927 units in Brooklyn. Ocean Hill Stuyvesant Gardens was part of PACT Round 10, and additional details about the procurement are available in the board materials. Through NYCHA's PACT program, NYCHA seeks to convert developments from Section 9 funding to project-based Section 8, which is a more stable source of federal funding. We do this using HUD's Rental Assistance Demonstration Program, known as RAD, and by partnering with a team of private and nonprofit developers, general contractors, property managers, and social service providers. To date, NYCHA has provided over $7.3 billion in capital repairs to over 25,000 units through the PACT program. Over 13,000 units have completed construction, representing over $2.6 billion in investment. We first came to the board for the conversion at Ocean Hill Stuyvesant Gardens in September 2022, when we sought board approval to submit the initial applications to HUD. We are now coming back to the board to request authorization to seek the final HUD approvals and enter into documents necessary to close on the PACT conversion of Ocean Hill Stuyvesant Gardens in the coming months. The PACT partner for Ocean Hill Stuyvesant Gardens is made up of the following groups: Bed-Stuy Collective LLC, a joint venture comprised of Kalel Holdings LLC and Dante's Partners NYC LLC as co-developers. Wave Press Management LLC is the property manager. Pyramid ETC Companies LLC is the general contractor, and Bedford-Stuyvesant Restoration Corporation is the social services provider. Upon receipt of our initial RAD application, which was authorized by our prior board resolution, HUD issued its initial approval for the transaction through its commitment to enter into a housing assistance payment contract on January 31st, 2023. At closing, NYCHA and the PACT partner will enter into a housing assistance payment, also known as a HAP contract, which will be administered by the authority's leased housing department. The transaction remains subject to HUD's RAD approval, which is required prior to transaction closing. The City of New York issued a letter of support for the transaction on September 21st, 2022. Recapitalizing and rehabilitating Ocean Hill Stuyvesant Gardens is anticipated to cost approximately $559 million. The final transaction budget is subject to approval by NYCHA, HDC, and HUD. NYCHA will approve the scope of work and confirm that it addresses all items in both the physical needs assessment and the capital needs assessment. The scope of work will be finalized before closing and will be presented to residents before construction begins. The scope of work generally includes work addressing capital needs in apartments, hallways, lobbies, mechanical systems, building facades, among other items. Residents at Ocean Hill Stuyvesant Gardens will all benefit from a comprehensive renovation of their homes and from HUD's RAD resident protections and affordability restrictions. They will also have the same basic rights as they do under the public housing program. The resident benefits are itemized in further detail in the board materials. The authority and the PACT partner have met with residents and will continue to engage with residents throughout the process via meetings and written notices. NYCHA and the PACT developer have held 27 meetings at Ocean Hill Stuyvesant Gardens since designation to date, and residents are advised of their ability to access Legal Aid Society's hotline to discuss questions regarding the conversion. In terms of resident hiring, the PACT partner has provided a hiring plan that outlines labor hours and training opportunities and other economic opportunities, the details of which are provided in the board materials. It is estimated that the project will generate 510,000 projected labor hours and 127,500 projected Section 3 labor hours. We are anticipating that the PACT conversion will take place in Q3 of this year and will work with our partners and residents to ensure the transition is as smooth as possible. Thank you very much, and let me know if you have any questions on item number 17.
No questions, thank you, Camille.
Thank you.
Julia?
Hi, good morning. My name is Julia Corvera, and I'm a project manager on the transactions team in the real estate development department, and I will now present on item number 18. We are seeking board approval relating to the PACT conversion of 7 developments: Jackie Robinson Houses, UPACA Site 5, UPACA Site 6, Morris Park Senior Citizens Home, Corsi Houses, 131 St. Nicholas Avenue, and TAP Rehabs, collectively Jackie Robinson and Harlem Scattered Sites. The developments consist of a total of 1,063 units in Manhattan. Excuse me. Jackie Robinson and Harlem Scattered Sites were part of PACT Round 11, and additional details about the procurement are in the board materials. We first came to the board for the conversion at Jackie Robinson and Harlem Scattered Sites on September 28th, 2022, when we sought board approval to submit initial applications to HUD. We are now coming back to the board to request authorization to seek final HUD approvals and enter into documents necessary to close on the PACT conversion at Jackie Robinson and Harlem Scattered Sites in the coming months. The PACT partner is made up of the following groups: a joint venture of Via Development, McCormick, Barron, Salazar, and Ascendant Neighborhood Development as the co-developers, CNC Apartment Management as the property manager, L&M Builders Group as the general contractor, and Asian Americans for Equality and Little Sisters of the Assumption Family Health Services as the social service providers. Upon receipt of our initial RAD application, which was authorized by our prior board resolution, HUD issued its initial approval for the transaction through its commitment to enter into a housing assistance payment contract on January 4th, 2023. At closing, NYCHA and the PACT partner will enter into a housing assistance payment, also known as a HAP contract, which will be administered by the authority's leased housing department. The transaction remains subject to HUD's RAT approval, which is required prior to closing. The City of New York issued a letter of support for the proposed transaction on September 21st, 2022. Recapitalizing and rehabilitating Jackie Robinson and Harlem Scattered Sites is anticipated to cost approximately $585 million. The final transaction budget is subject.
585.
The final transaction budget is subject to approval by NYCHA, HDC, and HUD. The authority and the PACT partner have met with residents and will continue to engage with residents throughout the process via meetings and written notices. NYCHA and the PACT developer have held 7 rounds of meetings on 7 discrete topics at each of the developments at Jackie Robinson and Harlem Scattered Sites since designation, and residents are advised of their ability to access Legal Aid Society's hotline to discuss questions regarding the conversion. In terms of resident hiring, the PACT partners have provided a hiring plan that outlines estimated projected labor hours and training opportunities and other economic opportunities. Preliminary opportunities include no less than approximately 158,700 total estimated projected labor hours, 39,675 estimated projected Section 3 labor hours, Occupational Safety and Health Administration 30-hour training and 10-hour site safety training for 25 residents, Certificate of Fitness trainings for boiler systems and mechanical systems for 20 residents, Certificate of Fitness trainings for standpipe and fire alarm systems for 20 residents, Certificate of Fitness trainings for sprinkler systems for 10 residents, and Environmental Protection Agency training for lead renovation, repair, and painting for 30 residents. We are anticipating that the PACT conversion will take place in Q4 of 2025, and we'll work with our partners and residents to make sure the transition is as smooth as possible. Thank you very much, and let me know if you have any questions on item 18.
Okay, so the next step with this is goes to HTC?
Yeah.
After we approve?
It will not be going to HTC's board, it will be reviewed by HTC's credit committee,
When is that supposed to happen?
in September.
Why doesn't it go to the board?
HTC won't be issuing bonds.
Oh, they're not the finance, I forgot.
Yeah.
In September, you said?
Yeah.
Okay, so, this is a great project. What I would like to do, Vilma,
Yes.
is, I'm conditionally very supportive of it, but I have a question that I want to take up with John Gouveia before, and the team if necessary, before I give my final approval. So, how do we handle that?
Are you
Well, I don't want to
asking,
abstain because I don't want it approved yet.
are you
until I vote.
asking that we withdraw it from the calendar and place it
No.
on the July calendar?
No. I want it to be, as soon as I get my answer from John, which should happen within the next hour, I'd like it to be approved, so maybe we can all just vote, condition on, John, I bet David has an answer to this question.
Not one that you're gonna like.
Well,
While they're conversing, I did have a quick question. How about the resident support? Because the scattered sites is an unusual kind of combination. How are the residents feeling about this?
Overall, the residents are eager for the conversion, and are waiting, for further repairs to come to their homes.
So,
Wait.
Mr. Chair,
yes, Mr. Counsel.
may I respectfully request that the board entertain a motion to recess for sufficient time for your question to be addressed so that we may maintain the agenda item on today's calendar.
Okay, where's John?
So we will
Bring me the head of John Gouveia.
we will reach out to Mr. Gouveia.
We're not going into executive.
Is there a motion to recess for for sufficient time to contact Mr. Gouveia?
That'd be great, I'm sure this is a 2-minute discussion.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks. Just chilling. Yeah, if you don't mind.
I'm gonna step outside, it's chilly.
We're doing, we're gonna talk a little.
Sorry about that, I didn't say that. May we call the meeting back to order, Chair?
Yes, you may.
Thank you very much. And we're back.
You wanna call for a motion on this one?
Yeah.
No.
Are we good? All your questions were answered? Yes, okay. Now we can move to item number 19, and then we will take our vote at the end as usual.
Morning, everyone. My name is James Hall. I'm a senior project manager on the transactions team in the real estate development department. I'll be presenting item number 19. We're seeking board approval related to the amendment of previously approved board resolution 24/5/2914, which allowed the authority to seek the conversion of the PSS grandparent family apartments in the Bronx from federal section 9 funding to federal project-based section 8. As a reminder, this conversion is not a PACT project, and we are now returning to seek board approval solely for the purpose of amending the prior resolution to seek an early termination of the mixed finance documents associated with the site. This will accomplish the same goal of converting the project from section 9 funding to project-based section 8. As described in board resolution 24/5/2914, the project first opened in 2005 at Prospect Avenue and East 163rd Street in the Bronx. The site was ground leased from NYCHA to the West Side Federation for Senior and Supportive Housing, also known as Wishfish. Wishfish is a nonprofit that houses over 2,500 people in 30 buildings located on the Upper West Side in Harlem, Chelsea, and the Bronx. The building is a 5-story, 51-unit rental project that currently receives Section 9 operating but not capital subsidy. Occupancy is restricted to senior caregivers who are raising minor-aged relatives with absent parents. The senior caregivers must prove they have guardianship, adoption, or kinship foster care custody. To continue to operate and maintain the development, we are seeking board approval to convert from Section 9 subsidy to project-based Section 8 subsidy through an early termination of the mixed finance documents associated with the property. Section 9 operating subsidy has not been adequate to make the necessary repairs or maintain operating reserves. Reserves have also been almost fully depleted, and given recent flooding issues, upgrades are needed to protect the building during future storms and heavy rain events. Through the conversion to Section 8, residents at grandparent family apartments will benefit from a more stable source of federal funding to make necessary building repairs and maintenance. NYCHA had previously received guidance from HUD to submit a Section 18 application, which prompted Board Reso 24/5/2914. We're now seeking an amendment of the prior board approval after several months of discussion with HUD as to the most efficient path to convert the project from Section 9 to Section 8. HUD indicated that the path for conversion through the Section 18 disposition process was not straightforward and would require a waiver. To assist NYCHA in facilitating the conversion, HUD proposed that NYCHA pursue the early termination of mixed finance documents. Once the early termination of mixed finance documents is effectuated, NYCHA will enter into a project-based Section 8 HAP contract with Wishfish and administer the HUD's Section 8 subsidy. The New York City Deputy Mayor for Housing and Economic Development issued a letter of support for the proposed project in May 2024. Additionally, Wishfish has engaged and will continue to engage with residents throughout this process via meetings and written notices. Wishfish anticipates that the conversion will take place later this year. Thank you. Please let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, James. Being that all matters have been discussed today, we'd like to first take our vote before adjourning. Do I have a motion to approve the 19 items presented today?
So moved.
Second.
I'll second.
You can't do, no, come on. You can't
No,
do it.
someone else.
People have moved to the second.
No, she acknowledged all moving.
If it makes you all feel better, I'll switch who voted first and who voted second. Are all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I motion to adjourn.
Okay.
I second it.
The second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you all for attending. Our next meeting is July 30th. See you then.
Thank you.
Give me an official time.